Random thought. Do not get overly excited about preseason football. Stop it.
Agree. 100%, especially Cowboy fans.
Well, they have nothing to be excited about yet. Hey, welcome to the show. I'm Yanni Rude.
And I'm just Terryl. You ever been elsewhere and overheard two people having crazy conversations?
Well, we are those people, and we've been having these conversations since college.
Yep, it's the Regular Guys Random Thoughts Podcast, episode 137. Be sure to like, subscribe, rate, and leave a review.
You know, the reason we're talking about this is because preseason football is back. We get 3 weeks of it instead of 4, thank God. Then we get to the regular season. And there's a lot of excitement about it because there were a bunch of exciting plays, like that guy Nathan Rourke, quarterback, who was in the CFL, I believe, and he was up against the Cowboys. Miraculous. They tackle him. Oh, no, they didn't tackle him. And they're dragging him down to the ground, and he still throws a touchdown. People are like, oh, my God. Even Patrick Mahomes is like crazy, right? Like, this dude is it. Then even the guy from, I saw Pat McAfee talking about the quarterback, Malik Cunningham, who didn't get drafted at all with the New England Patriots now. And he played quarterback in the last quarter, and he was running all over everybody. They even ripped his helmet off, turned it completely around and ripped it off his head. And he still got up and, still making plays right after that, throwing dimes. And they're like, this guy could be it, even though they converted him from a quarterback to a wide receiver, and he still went undrafted. So let's not get too excited in the preseason. And even for you, Terryl, a Saints fan, when you see this picture of Derek Carr looking jacked, are you going to go overboard and say Saints are going to the Super Bowl?
Nope, not at all. See, here's the fun thing about being a Saints fan. Mm-hmm. I don't have expectations of Super Bowls every year. I just want a good game. Mm-hmm. And win or lose, we're going to eat some good food. We're going to drink after. And we're going to have a good time. Right. If we wind up going to the playoffs, bonus.
Low
if we wind up getting to the Super Bowl, great. Mm-hmm. But I just love being a Saints fan and being around other Saints fans watching the game. But there's nothing crazier than watching some of these people that go nuts. Yes. Over preseason games, I was watching, I think it was the Vikings and Seahawks. And the bartender was diehard Seahawks fan. And she's just going nuts on the TV. And I was like, hey, it's preseason. She goes, doesn't matter. I want to see them come out and play hard. I said, they're not going to do that. It's preseason.
You know who
they're trying to figure out
for roster spots.
Yeah, the people who are fighting for a spot, they're going to do that. But the people who are guaranteed, they're not going to go out there and go nuts. Mm-hmm. Like, calm it down a bit. And if they have a phenomenal preseason game, don't get all your head in the clouds. Bryce Young didn't have a bad game for his first start, not too bad. Mm-hmm. And apparently he's going to be the starter for the Patriots. Great. Patriots fans.
Calm it down. Bryce Young is with the Panthers.
Panthers. Sorry, yeah, Panthers is what I meant.
Yeah. I mean, P, whatever. PA. Yeah.
But Panthers fans, calm it down. It doesn't mean that y'all are going to the playoffs now because you have Bryce Young. So I'm with you. Lower your expectations in preseason football. It's to me, I don't really pay that much attention to it. It's regular season football. That's when it's go time.
And this can be really converted for, let's take, for instance, your bartender who wants them to go hard, even though it's preseason, right? Because here's what it is. On first dates, most people go hard, put their best foot forward, their representative is forward. So maybe that's what it is. But same thing stands. Don't get too excited, because once people get comfortable, what happens? The truth comes out.
Always. It always does. But, you got some people who are just nuts. And I don't even think the players really don't get paid that, like, their regular money for preseason games.
Right. No, they don't.
So, I mean, what's in it for them? Why would they go hard on a preseason game? The starters, the guaranteed starters, they're going to get a few reps in and they're going to come off the field. But don't get too excited based on what you're seeing in preseason.
Unless, of course, you're a Cowboys fan, because the minute you see them take the field, they're going to the Super Bowl.
Every year. This is our year. Exactly. Dak's healthy. That's all we needed.
Hey, so this story, I saw this, and you had to remind me that we actually talked about this before. This mom is suing Southwest Airlines because they thought she was trafficking her daughter. Can you refresh our memory on this story here?
Yeah. So this was October 2021. This mom, who's white, has a biracial daughter, 10-year-old, and they were flying from San Jose to Denver. Mm-hmm. And the flight crew, whoever the crew was, they felt something was off because they didn't seem like the daughter was and the mom were really talking to each other. The mom was saying that the daughter had her audiobook, and so she was focused on that. They didn't see a lot of interaction with them, so they assumed something is wrong and thought potentially she could be trafficking this girl. And so they called the authorities in Denver to have them meet them at the plane. So they land, the authorities come meet them, and they pull them, they interview them and all that. They wind up realizing, oops, this is her mom. Like, everything is fine. So I knew at some point a lawsuit would come up, but that's what happened with this story.
Well, not only was it about, the fact that they weren't really talking to each other, it's also that what the flight attendant said was the mother did not allow the child to talk to the flight crew. Now, I know you say don't talk to strangers, but when you're on a plane, the flight attendant, I mean, and I can see why that might seem a little strange, because most parents, hey, what would you like? Well, tell her. Or have this conversation, right? It's more so, especially with flight attendants, be nice to them, right? And you kind of tell your kids, especially if they're with you, it's okay to talk to the flight attendant. Not, hey, don't talk to anybody. So I can see why I thought it was strange.
But maybe the daughter has poor social skills, doesn't like talking to people. Or maybe the mom is like impatient. Look, she wants a Sprite. Let's leave us alone. And yes, we'll take the peanuts and move on. Move on about your day.
No peanuts on airplanes no more. You act like you don't fly anymore.
Pretzels, whatever those things are.
Whatever.
But I'm just saying, it's like, maybe that's the case. A child does not have to engage in dialogue with the flight attendant.
No,
and it shouldn't be their expectation. Should be their expectation, but you can't automatically assume, because here's the deal: if the mom was black and the daughter was black, they wouldn't have thought that. Mm-hmm. It's because they were two different race people. That's why they thought something was wrong. Well, end of story. If you have a Latin mom and a little Latin 10-year-old girl, and the girl doesn't say anything to the flight attendant, they're not going to assume something's up because the little girl's not chatty Cathy.
I don't think it's just this one thing about the fact that she wasn't. It's a combination, not the fact that she wasn't talking to the mom, or the fact that she didn't talk to the flight attendants. I think it's the combination too. And here's the difference, though. And here's why, Aaron, I can see why the mom is upset. But at the same time, what if this was something wrong and they didn't say anything? What if this wasn't the mom? Now the mom would be mad that the flight attendants didn't pay attention. Which way do you want it? 6 of one, or do you want half dozen of the other? Which way do you want it?
I don't know. I don't really. Again, I wasn't there, but this one seems more sketch to me than anything else. That you just assume because the child didn't talk to you much, or you didn't think they engaged in conversation enough with each other, and they're different races, made you believe this lady was trafficking the little girl. But the main point was, and this is what the lawsuit's about, is because they were different races. Nothing to do with the conversation. It's because they were different races. This would not have come up if they're the same race.
There we go. Always bringing race into it, huh?
Yeah. I'm wearing your hat. I learned it from watching you.
We haven't done this in a while. Terrell's tips, and I saw this article and immediately thought of you. Right? This guy says Microsoft's former VP of HR, and here are 4 things I would never do as an employee. So I'm going to go through these 4 and see what you think of these. Right?
Okay.
So number 1, he said he would not offer or expect company loyalty. Really?
I would agree with that. When I remember when I started working at Whole Foods, I worked around so many people that were just so deep and bought into the culture. And I was the same way when I worked for Applebee's. I felt that way till I got laid off. And that one experience of getting laid off has taught me don't be super loyal to your company. I mean, be loyal to what you're doing. Be loyal to doing good work and being a good employee.
I was about to say.
And, protect your brand. But I don't walk into any place like, I am going to retire here. This is the best place ever. And they will never let me go. Like, I just don't have that. Once you get laid off once, and look at so many people who have recently been laid off for the last few years, it's just totally changed my mindset of how I look at companies. So I don't expect company loyalty.
Okay, so that was my question. And how do you define that loyalty? Because you do, because you mentioned buying into the culture. Mm-hmm. As a manager, you need your employees to buy into the culture. Not saying that I bleed the company colors, but at least buy into and give their 100%, not your 100%, because you're probably a nutcase like I am. And so you don't want them to give your 100%, but at least their 100% while they're on the clock, right or wrong?
Mm-hmm. Well, right, but it's just you got to factor their 100% is going to depend on a few things. Mm-hmm. How much they're getting paid. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Think about when I was, when I ran restaurants. You have a server making $2.13 an hour. They're only going to care so much, and their goal for the night is to make $100.
Right.
If they want to make that $100 at 8:30, their level of care starts to go down because they've made their money. They're good. So why should I keep caring as much as you want me to, right? And
so what you're saying is I should get to the restaurant early at the start of their shift where I get the best service. Gotcha.
Yes. That's why you don't go to the restaurant 10 minutes before close and expect good service. Never going to happen. But I mean, I think as leaders, our job is to try to motivate our people to want to care and do the best job they can. But also we got to put them in positions to be able to do that. We have to make sure that they've been trained. They're empowered to make those type of decisions. They don't feel like they're micromanaged and they're compensated well enough. Yeah, you can probably get that. But if you have someone that's really underpaid, their level of care is not going to be the same as you might want them to be. So it really just depends. That's how I look at the whole loyalty piece. When I was with Applebee's, I would have jumped in front of a truck for that company. Wow. Back in that time. I just believed in everything we were doing. Right. And when I got laid off, I'm like, okay, I will never have that type of relationship with any company again. Because I agree with what with Chris Williams, who's the former Microsoft VP of HR, said on his podcast. I agree with that.
One of the things that you put on there too of the things to do for them. One of the things that I think you left off is eliminate their excuses when they start bringing them. Eliminate those excuses that they have. I love to do that. Eliminate their excuses. One of the things you brought up there too was about the money that they make, and that's the second thing he talked about, which is he said, never ask your boss for a raise. Now, he's saying this because he says the minute you're asking for a raise, you're starting from behind from a position of weakness. You're asking for something as if it would be a favor to you. You've always talked about, well, that's your fault for making this amount. How do you then demand a raise? Because it sounds like that's what he's saying, instead of asking for a raise.
So what he's talking about in this, because he's talking about what value you pretty much you bring, and what you bring to the bottom line. And in certain roles, that's clear. If you're in sales, and if I generated this much money for the organization, hey, I should be compensated more. You can tell that. But look at a manufacturing facility, and if you're a union environment, and my job is to tighten up the widgets on the assembly line, I can't do that. I can't quantify the value I bring financially to the organization. I might say, hey, I've been here longer than everybody else. I have the most experience. That type of thing, I could say that. But I think it all depends on the type of role and what he's saying. I think you can ask your boss for a raise. I do agree that you can't go at it, because I've seen a lot of people ask raises because I moved into a place that's more expensive. We have a kid. Oops, we had twins. We weren't expecting twins. I need more money. It's not the company's fault, that those things happen. But I've seen people do that. And I think that's what he's referring to is, don't make it seem like I need a favor. I need you to give me a raise because be able to bring your value. But I don't fully agree with this point, because it all depends on what you do for a living. If you're a lunch person, right, and you just help provide lunches for elementary school kids, how do you tell what value you bring financially to the bottom line? where you're just slopping stuff on the tray and they're moving along. Unless you're doing it with two hands, like I can do the job of two people. Slop. Next two up. Slop.
Or to your point and it goes right back to the first part of the company loyalty. Well, I've been here long. That's loyalty. That's expecting the loyalty and still asking for the raise because of your loyalty. Is that, so I mean, I get what you're saying in that space. How do you quantify? And there is a ceiling. Depending on the position, there always is going to be a ceiling. You can't say, well, I've been in this position and I'm not moving up and I need still more money if you reach the ceiling, because there is a range in this space. For every position, there's a range. And it's already set there, and sometimes that range can shift up, and more times it can shift down, especially depending on the economy, right? Like in today's economy, it's probably sliding down, like it did in the late 2000s when everybody's like, all right, we're going to need you to take a 5% pay cut if you make over this amount. Remember that? If you don't remember that, then that means you probably weren't making that amount. Or you work for a good company.
I haven't had to do that. Knock on wood, I haven't had to do that. But I agree with kind of what you're saying there, because there are ceilings, right? And I think that people that want to grow and excel their careers, I'm a big believer that your growth, it's your job. It's your responsibility. It's not your employer's responsibility to develop you. Right. And sometimes you can potentially max out at your company at the job title that you're at.
Right.
And it could be for varied reasons. Somebody doesn't like you. Maybe you're not good at the corporate politics stuff. There could be something. There's a reason that you can't get to that next level, which is fine. Put some more tools in your tool belt to help you be stronger to go to the next company. It's okay to do that. A lot of times people will hit that ceiling and they just want to keep attacking that wall that they've run into. I'm like, why not just find a way to go around it? Find a different wall. Sometimes that's going to a smaller company with a little bit more job responsibility, going to a larger company where there's maybe a lot more room to be able to grow. But, there's ways around the ceiling. You're not just stuck just because you reach the max in your salary.
There's another point that, and it comes from Spider-Man, which is with great great power comes great responsibility. Well, with more money usually comes more responsibility too. So keep that in mind. If you don't want more responsibility, asking for more can come along with more money. The third thing he talked about was making empty threats, right? And this is very important. And this also, it's amazing how these kind of just flow into each other. Because one of the things that I remember somebody who was, well, I've been making this amount for this long, for like 5 to 8 years. And, I want to raise, and what they're giving me, I'm not getting this. And like, well, here's what you want. You're probably not going to get it at this place. You're going to need to go to someplace else that's going to pay you more. And sometimes it's shifting, even in the same position, that can get you that more, right? But then, or that company may say, well, if they're going to offer you, we don't want to lose you, so we'll pay you that. But that's the only reason they're going to give it to you. Because here's the thing, but you have to make don't make empty threats of, I'm going to leave if I don't get this. If you don't have something already lined up and ready to move and walk out the door if they say no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I agree with him on this one. I mean, people use that tactic all the time, right? Mm-hmm. And they might even lie and say, hey, I've been talking to another company.
Right.
They offered me X. Mm-hmm. Can y'all match it? Well, my question is, well, how do I know that somebody offered you?
Show me the offer letter.
Yeah.
That's what
show me the offer letter. Mm-hmm. Yeah, show me the offer letter. Let me see. Let me run it by our team, see if we can. I mean, but people will do that and use that as a way to leverage, or they'll say, hey, if I don't get X by this date, I'm quitting, which that's not good either, because it doesn't build a good relationship. When you think about trust and value and all that stuff, it doesn't build a good relationship with your supervisor. And then you got the people that want to threaten to take legal action and all that stuff. And I'm like, which is crazy, because his point is, don't make those threats unless you've explored it. Talk to an attorney.
Yes.
See if you have a case. Mm-hmm. If you don't, now you become a liability. And so now I don't trust you at all. You're coming to be threatened to me about legal action. Okay, great. Now I got to really watch everything I say. You're that person that's probably going to try to record our one-on-ones with your phone while we're on Teams chat or Zoom. You're going to
before you start the meeting.
Yeah. Yeah. You're that one. You got to watch your back. Yeah, it's just crazy. I think when you start doing stuff like that, you're probably on your way out the door anyway.
Yes.
So just leave.
To your point, you've got to be very careful. And his point as well, you've got to be very careful when you make. And when you say threat, it doesn't necessarily mean if this, then that, right? I've had somebody say to me once before, it was about 6 months out from the end of their contract, right? And was like, my contract's up in what? In December? Yeah, okay, well, I'm not going to renew. I'm leaving. I said, okay. About 3.5 months later, hey, so do I need to start looking for a job? I'm like, you were going through quite a bit at that time. I was, but keep in mind, there's always a backup plan. And most good managers always have that backup plan. And that's why he says, don't make those empty threats. Because you make that threat and they take you up on it, where does that leave you? Because one thing we do know, the company moves on. One monkey don't stop the show unless the one monkey show.
Yeah, I mean, I always tell the leaders on my team is always when you think about succession planning, right? Mm-hmm. If Yanni, you're my number one person, right? Mm-hmm. You're my number one. I'm going to probably promote next, and you come in threatening to leave if you don't get X, Y, Z, whatever. Okay, now I got to find a new number one because Yanni's going to be quitting at some point. So that means I'm going to stop trying to give you that extra development you need and start focusing on someone else,
right?
Because you've already told me that you're not going to be here long. Whether I fire you or whether you end up quitting, I need to start working on my plan B. And so this is a prime example of why we do that. And when you come in doing that, you wind up shooting yourself in the foot sometimes because, or as they say in church, you might miss your blessing.
Well, you know what? Let's not wait. Let's make it happen right now.
Yeah.
Like, son of a, I was kidding. It's too late at that point. So don't make, number 3 is very important when it says don't make empty threats, right? So 3 things he said so far, right? There's 4. 1, he said, don't offer or expect company loyalty. 2, don't ask your boss for a raise, right? And 3, don't make empty threats. Number 4, I think is so, it sounds complicated, but it's really not. And I say it sounds complicated because I think a lot of people do this. Don't ask for help unprepared.
This is an interesting one because I like the angle they went. So if you think about a project you're working on, if you need help, right? If I say, hey, Yanni, I'm working on this project. I need your help. Your first question is, what help do you need?
Exactly.
And if I'm like,
what do you need?
Oh,
what do
no,
you need?
I just need help. Okay, that makes you look bad.
Right.
But the other thing that he talked about was, going to like HR or whatever to resolve a difficult situation and you don't have an idea of what you want the outcome to be. You're just like, hey, I don't think this is right. This. Okay, well, what do you want to happen? I don't know. No, be prepared, when you're doing that. Either when you're asking for help on a project or you're asking for help with a difficult situation. Yes. Really think it through. I agree with him 100% on that.
What do you need the exact help with? Because if it's, you've got this project to do, I may have the perfect person to help you. Only way I know is exactly what's that help with, right? And I think that's one thing that we always used to talk about was, do you have a solution? Because a lot of people have complaints.
Right.
Not very many people have solutions. And that's the issue. I'm a problem solver. I want to know, how do we get it done? Talk about it with golf all the time. It's not about the bad shots. It's how you recover. How are you going to get out of the woods?
You got to start wearing your green jacket when you start giving these golf quotes.
It's the same golf quote all the time. It doesn't change. It's the same thing.
Put your green jacket on, as we say on the golf course.
Why? All it tells you is that I'm in the woods quite a bit. That's all it tells you. I hit a lot of bad shots. And I'm just like, I'm not going to let this bring me down. I'm not going to break my club and throw it.
Well, and I think this one here is an important learning, I think, for anybody, and you can really apply it whether you're new in your career, new in your professional career, whether you've kind of been a seasoned vet or even an executive. This stuff works, and the concept of don't come to me with problems, come to me with solutions. I get it, but in some cases, someone's new; they don't know how to solve. So,
which is why he's not a fan of it.
Yeah, they're going to come to you with problems sometimes, depending on what stage they are in their career. But as you're developing people, they should be able to start coming to you with them. Hey, I've noticed this problem. I'm suggesting we do either A or B to solve. I wanted to run it by you. What do you think? And then y'all can pick it out. Maybe it could be one or the other is right, or it's a combination, which is going to be C. This is what you should do. Now the person learned how to think through it. So, I mean, I think all those things can help, but I think this is good advice for anybody in their career. But a lot of your new entry-level folks, your ones coming fresh out of college, all they're going to bring you is problems because they don't really know how to solve.
Okay, but and this is where I think for me, I don't mind the at least one or two suggestions or ideas, right? And this is why you have to have them. I know he says he doesn't like the line, coming with solutions. Well, yeah, your solution may not be right because we may have already tried that. But that's also why when I go into a new place, well, what did we do before? Because let's at least figure out what solutions have what have we tried before to fix this? And if it's not the case, then now we have a way to get there. And it's also, how do you get your new employees to start thinking in the way that you need them to? Well, part of it is to know the way they're thinking anyway. Are they even thinking of how to fix the problem? Or they're just saying, well, here's the problem. Well, how would you fix it? Or this is what I would do. Well, here's why that won't work. Boom. You know what I mean? But yeah, the one thing I think, and this is the one thing I have with him and all these things that he said is just that little piece of it. Because we've trained people, when you and I were going to school, so much to just recite the information and not really create the solutions for these. And that's probably how you advance more, when you start thinking more so of how do you attack the problem, not just here's a problem, tell me how to fix it. Because it's just, if that's the case, you might as well be on the assembly line. Let's just do this because that's what the assembly line is. Right. They don't ask you to fix problems on the assembly line.
No. And again, it just depends on the type of work. On the assembly line, hey, it's not working. Machine's not working. I'm bringing you a problem.
Call the person who's paid to do this, to fix this. But what do you think we should do? I think we should call the person who's paid. Again, it just, like you said, it depends on the job, but what's the solution?
Yeah.
Oh, man. So, just a quick recap of these four again. I just want to point these out because, like you said, these are all really good. The things that he said he would never do. Chris Williams, the former VP of HR at Microsoft, said he would not offer or expect company loyalty. You agree with that? He said he wouldn't ask the boss for a raise. You agree with that, but have a different way of putting that out, right? Don't make empty threats. I think we can all say it. In work, in friendships, and in relationships. Don't make empty threats. If you make that threat, be prepared. Right? Oh, man. Look, don't forget, we're back. We've got at least 2 more episodes of The Bachelorette, right? The tell-all this week. Next week, we get the final rose ceremony, and then we'll be done with The Bachelorette. But, hey, have no fear. Right around the corner, The Ultimatum on Netflix. Are you down?
Down. Because the way Netflix does it is great. I can watch 2 or 3 episodes, you binge, and then we do a video. We're not having to watch every single one of them, and there's no commercials. So yes,
that's the part you like, the no commercials.
Yes, I'm totally down for the ultimatum.
All right, so the ultimatum that's coming up. I think it drops on the 23rd, so we'll start dropping episodes after that. Give us a couple days to digest them. And you know what? I think maybe we end up doing it a little different this year too, just to kind of knock them down and get more of these out. So looking forward to this one as we do the ultimatum and get ready for Mav's return, because that's coming back soon.
Colorado, right?
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah. Yep.
Hey, I'm Yanni Rude.
And I'm just Terryl.
Make sure you follow us at Yanni Rude, at Just Terryl, and at RGRT Pod.
Yep. Send us some of your random thoughts, some of the bullshit found on the internet. We'll talk about it on the regular show.
It's the Regular Guys Random Thoughts Podcast. Cheers.
Cheers.
Empty threat.